Good news, everyone! At the end of this video, I have a couple of short but sweet announcements. The Whirly-Durly Conspiracy is a different Rick and Morty, and it's going to play a huge role later. I believe that in this episode, we don't see the Rick and Morty that we are normally following, but instead another, where there are some major differences. The first thing about this that seems different in this one, Morty seems to have way more of a temper. He seems to suddenly explode at Beth very easily, in a way that we haven't really seen him act before. Sure, he has gotten angry on multiple occasions, but this time just felt much stranger. He almost seems to straight up hate Rick in this, with lines like,
"I tricked Rick into taking Dad on an adventure because I thought I could get a break from this kind of shit. But no, like father, like damn daughter. You want to be like Rick? Congratulations. You're just as arrogant and just as irresponsible."
At least in the previous episodes, Morty had some respect for his grandpa, and Morty tricking Rick, the smartest person in the universe. Rick can read through anyone's lies, so since when does this happen? Notice Morty's actions and behavior in this one too, specifically that scene with Ethan. Since when was he so menacing? He didn't stutter either like we would normally see with Morty. He didn't feel like our Morty. And the way that he crushed Beth's phone.
I think we got disconnected. Morty!
Don't Morty me!
Doesn't that seem familiar? And this episode also introduced a very interesting aspect we had not seen before. Rick's cybernetic implants, which cover his limbs, organs, brain, and eye. Hey, doesn't that sound familiar? Yep, I'm doing it. I'm suggesting that this episode is, in fact, an origin story of another well-known Rick and Morty duo. Evil Rick and Evil Morty. It all makes sense. Morty tricking Rick, that was either one of two things. Morty puppeteering Rick with the cybernetic implants, or Morty did genuinely trick Rick because we see that Evil Morty is far more intelligent than the other versions. Now you may be asking how this works, or if this takes place after the original Evil Morty episode. Well, this is probably the weakest part of the theory for me. And this is just a guess, but I'd say maybe time travel or something similar. Rick does have a box of time travel stuff in the garage. I know that they said they wouldn't do it, but I look at it, they wouldn't do it as a full episode. Couldn't it still be incorporated in as a short or off-screen thing? It's just an idea. Thanks so much KaijuMan257 from Reddit for this theory. One of the many things that struck me in this episode was the parallel in Evil Morty's final speech between his words and the things that were transpiring in the Citadel. I feel like they were mirroring and reinforcing one another, and as such, they should explain Evil Morty's reasonings, motivations, and goals. For this reason, I want to quote Evil Morty's words, describe what was transpiring in the show, and then interpret them as how they can relate to his future plans. At the end, I will share my own theory about Evil Morty's origins.
This seems like a good time for a drink and a cold, calculated speech with sinister overtones. A speech about politics, about order, brotherhood, power. But speeches are for campaigning. Now is the time for action.
A speech about politics. New Citadel flags fall over some balconies for the common people to see. About order. Newbie policeman Rick puts on his uniform again after violating many police codes and norms. Brotherhood. The group of young Mortys takes mega seeds from a Rick farmer with the full support of a group of Rick's soldiers despite the farmer's opposition. Power. Rick's soldiers are seen dumping the corpses of the Rick politicians that opposed Evil Morty.
Speeches are for campaigning. Now is the time for action.
My interpretation? Politics, order, brotherhood, and power. These are the most important themes to Evil Morty, as they were the subjects he touched upon during his inaugural speech. All of them are of prime importance to him, since they are where his mind and attention is focused. A speech about politics. This is pretty straightforward. This is a power move from Evil Morty, so that common Ricks and Mortys accept his new leadership. It has some tyrannical connotations since Evil Morty is pushing new symbology into a whole society to cement, and as evidence of his power and influence over them. Order. This was a curious one. Why would Evil Morty care about a common police officer? Bear in mind that Evil Morty is the sole leader of the Citadel, and it can be assumed that every change to the Citadel's customs comes directly from him. I think this means that the new order in the Citadel will accept transgressions from their workforce whenever it works in their interest. We might see some deviations from the law in Rick's workforce. Take into account that in modern societies, the law comes from a third party, like the Congress or the previous Rick's Council, independent to the executive power, President Morty. But now it's pretty much evident that Evil Morty wants to pursue and exert power by himself with complete disregard of others. So Evil Morty is the law now, and everyone who opposes him is fighting the status quo itself. So the Rick's workforce will fight against anyone who opposes Dictator Morty by all means necessary, which was already shown by the unlawful executions Evil Morty had just carried out. Brotherhood. This is the most interesting to me, and the one that compelled to write this piece. Bear in mind that everything that is happening, A, B, C, and D, is happening presumably under the direct orders and instructions of Evil Morty. So does Evil Morty know about the existence of this particular group of friends among the dozens of single Mortys? Why is he so interested in nurturing friendly relationships among the common populace, and particularly among Mortys? Let's not forget that this is the same Morty that tortured hundreds of Mortys for no reason at all. 5 Mortys in a jumper cable would achieve the same result, said our regular Rick when he was appalled by the utter disregard someone would have to use Mortys like this. Let's also point out that Mega Seeds give super intelligence, and that Evil Morty is handing them to Rickless Mortys. I presume he is interested in building an army of super intelligent Mortys with no attachment to Ricks. And D. Power. Pretty straightforward too. His plan was to win the election in order to build more power. Taking over the Citadel was just a middle step into a much bigger scheme. Clearly Evil Morty doesn't want power just for the sake of it, but as a means to an end. We know his previous plan was, apparently, thwarted, so this is just another shot he is making to achieve an ultimate goal. Now there is also another beautiful parallel in the show that is linked to one of my previous points. The group of young Mortys makes the long trip to a wishing well, and one of them makes the ultimate sacrifice so that his friends and all the other Mortys have a better life. And just as he jumps into the well, Evil Morty consummates his power and ultimately makes his wishes come true. I don't think this is a coincidence. I don't think the show is built around the trope of good people that have endured so much will end up having their wishes come true, as if God, nature, karma, or a fairy tale will take pity of their misery and take them to heaven. This is not what Rick and Morty is about. I believe the Morty that jumped through the portal, the Morty that escaped the system, that gives nothing but oppression and misery to all Mortys, is the same Evil Morty that has now come back to make things right. Thank you everybody for watching. What'd you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a like. If not, give it a dislike. A while back, my first really successful video, The Lich, was demonetized by Cartoon Network, and it spent 8 months in limbo. They said they were going to take me to court over it. I appealed, and it seemed to go nowhere. Well, finally a year after the video's release, it has finally been cleared. To celebrate, please go check out this classic, Adventure Time Explained, The Lich. Also, thank you so much for 20,000 subscribers. It means the world to me that you all have joined me on this journey. This week there will be a Patreon exclusive video about my trip to the Cincinnati Comic Expo, so check that out, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.
Hey, thanks for watching. Happily ever after gaming, man.